Welcome to this edition of Like Nobody's Business. I'm Beth Sewald, President and CEO of the Vegas Chamber. We are into the final days of the Nevada Legislature, and there are still several bills up for consideration, proposals involving K through 12, higher education, and those potentially impacting employers, employees, and small businesses. We are honored today to have the Speaker of the Nevada Assembly, Jason Frierson, joining us today. Welcome, Speaker Frierson. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Mary Beth.
You are quite welcome. First, I just want to give a big thank you and a shout out to you for being such an absolutely outstanding partner, not only during this session, but throughout your entire time in office. We really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I mean, that's what we're here for, and I think that when we get here, we have to remember that. And I think I've always said, as a legislator, I know enough to know I don't know enough, and so when I think I have all the answers, I probably need to figure out something else to do.
I think I've heard you say that before, so let's jump right into it. Tell us a little bit about what are some of your legislative priorities for the rest of the session. We're getting close to the end now.
Sure. This is crunch time. It's a relatively stressful time in the session with 28 days left to go. Our top priority right now is the urgency of getting our budgets done and making sure that we get that done on time. We are constitutionally required to fund education first, and so we are focusing on doing that so that we can close the rest of our budgets. And of course, what that means is any bills that cost money are going to kind of have to be put on hold until we have a better idea of how much money we're working with. And so that's really our major focus. And we do it through the lens of trying to help out hardworking Nevada families. So we are all in this recovery. Numbers are looking promising, but there are folks that are still out of work. There are employers that are still unable to hire folks back. And I think that we have to approach coming out of this pandemic through that lens. And so as we continue to look at, rising vaccination rates and our tourism economy rebounding, I think we're fortunate and appreciate our federal delegation's work and making sure that we have some federal aid coming our way as well. I've said that Nevada has been hit hardest of most states because of the nature of our economy, and I think we'll benefit the greatest as we look at guidance from our federal government on what we can do with that aid. But it'll be through the lens of helping out families and businesses that want to hire people back to work, and that's going to have to be the lens that dictates the policies that we move forward in the last 28 days.
Well, we appreciate that. That's absolutely a priority of the Vegas Chamber, is getting folks back to work. What are some of the bills that you would especially like to see passed this session that are important to you?
Well, I mean, again, if I choreographed every bill that was important to me, it'd be an interesting last week of session. My job is to steer the ship, and so we have to close our budget. We want to minimize cuts. I have some lots of different pieces of legislation, most of which, quite frankly, have gotten bipartisan support. But I've been in this for 10 years. This isn't about me and my bills. This is about me shepherding the process so our new leaders can learn how it should work and work in a collaborative way. To try to get some policies passed that improve access to healthcare, certainly improve our public education system. But we still are looking at cuts, and a lot of great ideas cost money, and unfortunately that makes it really difficult to get it moved this session, particularly in an economic downturn. So we'll continue to focus on our priorities of supporting education. I think increasing access to healthcare, but we're going to have to deal with the budget shortfall in a responsible way. And it makes it difficult when we're looking at priorities like clean energy and technology and infrastructure, protecting our small businesses. These are all things that incorporate policies that we're looking to advance, but it makes it really challenging when we have a shortfall. Looking forward to the economic forum and some other ideas, as well as guidance again from our federal delegation. We have never gotten the kind of return on our investment in the federal government that I think Nevadans deserve. And I think that we're looking at some policies even this session to improve that situation through all of these challenging circumstances.
Well, speaking of federal government dollars, one of the things that we'll be talking about, of course, is the American Rescue Act, with Nevada projected to receive $2.9 billion from the American Rescue Act. I assume, based on what you just said, you'd like to see these funds go to things like education and so forth.
Well, I think that we have to look at what the guidelines from the federal dollars allow us to do. It's our understanding that they're going to be quite a bit more flexible than a CARES Act, and so we we're excited. And again, I think Nevada stands to benefit to a larger degree than many states because of the nature of our economy. But yes, I would like to see some federal dollars first and foremost, as we committed to during last special session. Use those federal dollars to the extent that we're allowed to fill cuts. To backfill those real painful cuts that we had to make last year. And so we'll continue to look at what we're able to do with the federal dollars to fill those cuts. And education is, of course, one of the high priorities. We have tons of priorities that we're looking at. And then beyond filling cuts, I think then we have to start to look at our infrastructure. And, I think setting Nevada on a more prosperous future with respect to our infrastructure. So we'll look at the guidance. When we have computer software that's so outdated, we can't find people to service them. These are the reasons why we have people in the backlog with unemployment insurance, and why people have to wait in line at DMV. So these are things I think we need to look at, and to the extent that they are consistent with the federal guidelines, put Nevada on a better path moving forward.
Well, and we all know that the pandemic has really affected pretty much every aspect of our lives. How do you think the pandemic has impacted the legislative priorities, maybe for you and possibly for your caucus, and what issues come to top of mind?
Well, I think that it's required that we have a laser focus on the nuts and bolts of state government. I think that we've talked before session started about how this session is going to be much more straightforward. There are a lot of pet projects that we probably don't have the bandwidth to be able to tackle this session. And so all of that plays into limiting, the number of bills that we're probably going to be able to process, and making sure that those bills are really more pertinent to the problems of today. And we're going to have to live to fight another day for some policies that are really far beyond the challenges that the pandemic and the economic shutdown have created.
Well, and Mr. Speaker, you have developed quite a great reputation as a convener and a collaborator in the state legislature, and we see that regularly from you. Why is this so important to you as Speaker, and how have you been able to so successfully work with all the different stakeholders and groups this session?
I think there's a couple of things that are important with respect to my background. And one of those is I spent 10 years in Northern Nevada before moving to Southern Nevada. So I've developed a great appreciation for the whole state. We have urban cores and rural cores and suburban areas. I think that we have a diverse state, and it takes some experience in those areas to really fully appreciate it and be sensitive to the issues that challenge those different areas when we're advancing policies. But I was a lobbyist first. I lobbied for Clark County, and so I've seen that side, and I know how important it is to bring stakeholders to the table, and not just to get rid of opposition, but to have a richer conversation. Folks need to remember, we all, 63 of us, come from different walks of life. We're citizens legislature, and because of that, and as I said at the outset, I know enough to know I don't know enough. We are not the experts. We are here to listen to the experts and make informed decisions based on what not only our constituents want, but the experts in those areas want. And the only way I believe you can do that is to collaborate and to sit down and talk with people with whom you disagree with as well, to make sure that you're avoiding any unintended consequences, mitigating any damage. I just think that is a better way to advance policy. And in a time during politics where there's a lot of rhetoric, and I think some messaging that is less about governing and more about campaigning, I think it's more important than ever that we focus on collaborating where we can and advancing good policy. I also think recognizing that in 2015, my caucus was in the minority. We also, as policymakers, have a duty to mitigate and compromise. We don't get anywhere as a state if it's all or nothing. And so there are times where, some of us may have to hold our nose and vote for something that maybe was made less bad, in our opinion, or less damaging, because that's what compromise is about. And I've seen that on both sides. And so I appreciate it. I think it leads to better outcomes. And I think it's just a part of what I bring to the table.
Well, you've been a great role model for us in the business community, and we appreciate your ability to convene all the groups, and it definitely goes a long way. So, all right, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll be right back with Speaker Frierson. He'll share more about his perspectives at the Nevada Legislature. We'll be back right after this.
Like Nobody's Business. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mayor Carolyn Goodman of the great city of Las Vegas, and this is the 110th year of the Vegas Chamber. Wow! Congratulations.
As humans, we're visual creatures. In fact, American adults spend nearly 6 hours each day watching video, and we're evolving and expanding across screens. Whether we're surfing the web at work, streaming our favorite show in a waiting room, or watching the game live at home, Cox Media's digital video solutions can deliver your business's message to consumers in a way that creates a meaningful connection and drives them to take action. Grow your business. Call Cox Media today.
Hi, I'm John Gruden with the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm doubling down on Las Vegas. Happy anniversary, Las Vegas Chamber. 110 years, that's awesome.
Welcome back to Like Nobody's Business.
Welcome back to the show. We continue our conversation now with Nevada Assembly Speaker Jason Frierson. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for being with us today. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, my pleasure being here.
We know one of the things that you helped develop was the Every Nevadan Recovery Framework with Governor Sisolak and Senate Majority Leader Cannizzaro. What were some of the priorities of that listed under that framework?
Well, and thank you for bringing that up. I think with us developing that plan and talking about that plan publicly, I think it gave the public an opportunity to see that we are not walking blind here. We are actually thinking about priorities and structure so that when we do get the federal dollars, there's a process in place already that allows us to prioritize our needs. And so there's several priorities within that framework: increasing access to healthcare and community-based services, strengthening public education, supporting disadvantaged communities, strengthening Nevada's workforce, and that includes supporting small businesses and revitalizing our state economy, investing in infrastructure, which I believe is sorely needed, modernizing and enhancing state government services, and of course, I should have said this first, but most importantly for now is addressing budget shortfalls to make sure that we can live within our needs, but that we replace cuts where we can, and that when we have cuts otherwise, they reflect our values.
Well, we appreciate that. And for our small business owners who are watching, can you give us a little bit more perspective around workforce and helping those small businesses that they might expect?
Well, we've had conversations. We've had the implementation of a PETS grant program. We are still looking to expand on opportunities to help small businesses. I talked about collaborating earlier. I meet with the business community on a weekly basis, the entire session, because I think it's important that we hear from leaders in the business community about things that maybe have unintended consequences and we need to redirect, or other ideas that could be brought that would actually really, really help folks. But what it does is it also requires that we focus not only on what we see every day, what we hear in our emails and phone calls from constituents, and we certainly feel for them and we want to do everything that we can to help those folks, but we also have to help the folks that are going to hire them back. And so, that time, that interaction allows us to do just that. And I think that the Every Nevadan's Recovery Plan sets out the framework so that when we do get guidance from the federal government, I think that we're going to be able to quickly make use of that, at least periodically, depending on how the federal government issues that funding. We just want to be ready. And so that's, I think, what we're looking forward to doing. Part of that process will involve community engagement, community input, but at the very beginning, we have needs that we know we have. We had cuts that were painful, some of which to services that it's difficult to come back from. And so when we're talking about cuts for services to autistic kids, we know that's time that some of those kids will never get back. And so when we're talking about kids in public education that are about to matriculate out of middle school or out of high school, we know that they're going to be support that they did not receive And we have to make sure that we're giving them every opportunity to get caught back up, be competitive in the workforce or education if they decide to seek higher education. That framework has allowed us to really laser focus on a structure that I think will be useful once we finalize.
Well, speaking of structure, we've been talking a lot about federal funding. You have been a leading supporter of Nevada increasing its share of federal grants. Do you think that AB 445 will accomplish our goal of having a better state apparatus and elevating the importance of federal grants for Nevada?
Well, I absolutely hope it does. I think we leave far too many federal dollars on the table, and Assemblywoman Moreno's bill, I think, is going to help us make sure that we get our fair share of our federal dollars. And we look at our surrounding states, and we really need to improve our process of folks being able to access and apply for these federal grants. We're leaving lots of money on the table that in many instances pay us a lot of money for the dollar, that if we could see past a biennium, if we could see past 2 years and see the return on that investment, we would see 10, 20, 100-fold our investment in matching federal dollars. But we're not going to be able to do that until we improve the structure of our grants process now and catch up with other states.
Well, hopefully AB 445 will help us do just that very thing, because I agree with you. I know I've seen a lot of studies that says that they say how much money we're leaving on the table. So I really look forward to that as well. Switching gears, as we look toward the long term, Speaker Frierson, what are some of the issues you think we should focus on for the future prosperity of our state?
Again, we are coming out of a horrible pandemic and an economic downturn that I think has showed us how much we need to diversify our economy. We are proud of our tourism industry, but we've learned we can't depend only on that, because when folks stop coming to visit our tourist locations in Nevada, we don't stop needing emergency rooms or public schools. And so we have to spread it out and recognize that, as we look at our economy, it's not about pointing out who's to blame. It's not about villainizing any particular industry, but I do believe it's about learning lessons about depending on any particular industry. And as we move forward, we expect all of our partners to contribute proportionately more, but with an eye toward transparency and accountability and all those things that I think are crucial for state government to work. And so I think that we have to look at diversifying our economy, putting some buffers in there so that the next time we have a downturn, we're ready and better able to absorb it. I think, interestingly, it's not just about these policies, but I think the virtual nature of how we functioned last year and started this session out this year is part of a new norm. And I think that we're going to have to learn some lessons about upgrading our technology and expanding how we provide access to the democratic process. It's interesting, as frustrating as it is for some folks near the Capitol, we have been able, through virtual implementation of our policies, to expand access so that so many more in the state of Nevada can participate in a meaningful way and in an equal way. And we're proud of that, that we've been able to let folks from Southern Nevada, from rural Nevada, who don't have to drive hundreds of miles to come to Carson City, but can participate and be heard virtually and be a part of the process. So these are all things that I think are going to be part of what we look at moving forward. But clearly, again, this pandemic and downturn have showed us that we need to have a diverse and stable economy so that we can withstand these tough times. And there are decisions that had we looked at 20 or 30 years ago, we'd be much better situated to absorb it and protect our basic safety net services. And these are things that we have to look beyond our terms to look in the long term. Again, a biennium is not an easy time to see the return on your investment, both financially and in policy. So we got to see beyond 2 years to 6 years, 10 years to think about the future and be ready for, I think, the next challenging time.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Speaker Frierson. We certainly appreciate all you do to support the biggest chamber and, of course, employers across our entire state. Thank you for all you do.
Well, thank you. I value the relationship. You and I have worked well together for several years, and it's a meaningful, I think, relationship that allows us to make more informed decisions. And I look forward to that continued interaction and relationship.
Well, likewise. Thank you so much again, and I'll let you get back to serving the state. Thanks again.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Take care.
Okay. Coming up, our Vegas Chamber correspondent goes behind the scenes with one local business. Stay with us.
Like nobody's business, we'll be right back.
Happy 110th anniversary, Vegas Chamber.
Remember old Vegas where the customer was king? The Casablanca in Mesquite is just like Vegas used to be. Play over 40 of your favorite table games.
Play over 800 slot and video poker machines and get comps, free play, and cash back.
Get away and play 2 18-hole championship golf courses, or pamper yourself in our full-service salon and unwind in our world-class spa. Now this is my kind of getaway. Reserve your $99 golf or spa getaway today. It's just like Vegas used to be.
The Vegas Chamber is 110 this year. Hi, I'm Gina Bon Jovi, chair of the Vegas Chamber. None of us were around 110 years ago, but back in 1911, we did know two things. We are Vegas and we are the Chamber, and neither of those things will ever change. Happy 110th anniversary to the Vegas Chamber.
Hi, I'm Steve Hill. On behalf of the LVCVA, I want to say happy 110th birthday to the Vegas Chamber. Congratulations on everything you've accomplished and everything you'll do in the future.
Welcome back to Like Nobody's Business.
Our Vegas Chamber correspondent, Nick Schneider, has been sharing stories from our members and what life has been like since the pandemic and behind the mask. Let's check it out.
Thanks, Mary Beth. We've been excitedly watching Las Vegas reopen and welcome back live events. Today, we're going behind the mask with owner Gary Boardman and proud Vegas Chamber member Amusement Exhibit and Event Services. AE&ES specializes in providing entertainment, games, and exhibits for live events ranging from trade shows to full takeovers of Vegas Motor Speedway. AE&ES needed to find ways to adapt to a tumultuous time, especially for the live event industry.
We took our core group of tech people and creative and started reimagining how we could do games, how we could do photo booths, how we could do team building.
AE&ES's creativity led to virtualgamesshow.com, and through a strategic partnership with a local agency, AE&ES built a platform called Meet Friendly to host team building events digitally.
You know, you had to get creative and you had to really step outside your comfort zone. And so when we reimagined, we didn't consider it a pivot. It was an extension of what we did and how we could have strategic partnerships.
This digital extension provides growth opportunities with an upcoming event that will have AE&ES running 3 iterations of their virtual escape room for a national company, all the while being able to make changes on the fly, bringing together teams across the country to compete in a way they may never have thought of in a pre-pandemic era. Elevate your next event with Amusement Exhibit and Event Services at ae-es.com or virtualgamesshow.com. I'm Nick Schneider, and thank you for joining us on Behind the Mask. Back to you, Mary Beth.
Thanks, Nick. We are really proud to shine that spotlight on our proud members at the Vegas Chamber. Before we go, I want to highlight a couple of upcoming Vegas Chamber events. June is Public Safety Month. The Chamber, along with our partner AMR, will host several programs to highlight how you can keep your employees and our community safe. Go to vegaschamber.com for more information. And are you interested in improving your leadership skills? Do you have a team member who can use some leadership training as well? Enrollment is open for the Chamber's Leadership Advanced Program, which is an effective program to become a more productive leader. Go to leadership.vegas for more information and to enroll today. Also, did you know that the Vegas Chamber offers a 401k program for small businesses and medium-sized businesses? If you're interested in a 401k for yourself or in offering one for your employees, check out the benefits of the Vegas Chamber plan. It offers lower fees and a wide range of investment choices. Please reach out to Vegas Chamber at vegaschamber.com for more information. On behalf of all of us at the Vegas Chamber, thanks for watching. I'm Mary Beth Sewald.
Hi, I'm Joe Caldera. I'm the founder of Caldera Wealth Management and the advisor to the Chamber's 401k plan. I'm also a proud member of the Chamber for more than 20 years. What is the Vegas Chamber 401k plan? Well, it's small businesses coming together to form a much larger plan. And in doing so, you get a simpler, cost-effective, efficient retirement plan for you and your employees. For more information, visit vegaschamber.com.
I'm Mary Beth Sewald with the Vegas Chamber, and we are doing our part to encourage Nevadans to stay safe and get vaccinated. Several Vegas Chamber members are giving away discounts to anyone who shows proof of vaccination. For more information and a list of participating businesses, go to vegaschamber.com.
At it again in 110, and the fire's just starting to burn. There ain't no keeping us down.